Hello, Donna Kato here. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a little studio session here. You know, I've been working so hard on these Starry Night canes, and I was going to do a simple pair of earrings, but you know what? I think we're going to do something else. Now, this is one of my older pieces. I don't keep a lot of my old jewelry, but I kept this because I really liked this series of pieces that I did. And so I'm going to do that today. And what that's going to involve is making the zipper cane. This was a cane I did many, many years ago, and I used it for my big beads. And I really like it. So I call it a zipper cane because that is precisely what it looks like. Then, instead of using simple stripes like this, and I believe there is a basic tutorial on those on my YouTube channel, I think we're just going to use the Starry Night canes. Okay, so I'm bringing the Starry Night canes back in to a different piece that I really like a lot. Okay, so what we're going to need to do first is make that cane. Now, to make the cane, what you're going to need is two colors for the actual zipper in the middle. I'm going to make that black and white. Most of mine were black and white, by the way. But then you can see this green stripe. Well, in a zipper, that's really called the tape. So we're going to make the tape that limey green color, one of my favorites. And what that requires is a ton of yellow, a little bit of green, and half of a little bit of red. Now, they're always a little different because when you have a recipe like this that is a ton of yellow and a little bit of green and a little half, I mean, we're getting down to quantities of clay here and here that might be 1/164th part. Well, I just don't think it's all that important to be all that specific, particularly the way I work. Maybe if I were manufacturing jewelry, that would be different. You would want it to be precisely that. But if I were in that position, I would be working on recipes that would maybe 5 big blocks of yellow and 1 package of green and one, that kind of thing. So as you increase the volume, it probably does get easier to actually have a recipe. Now, my basement is very cold. It's about 50 degrees down here, which is fantastic in the summer, so I don't need air conditioning, but in the winter it is really cold. So I have a little fan going underneath my table. But nonetheless, I can feel how hard and cold this clay is, and it really is. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add some of my conditioning bar. I love this stuff. I absolutely love it. Kato conditioning bar. And I found that it is so much easier to add this conditioning bar than it is to add liquid. Liquid will do the trick. Not saying it won't, but it is quite a bit more difficult to work it into the clay. What happens is your clay your liquid coated clay may actually just start slipping and sliding all over the rollers, and it can become quite a mess. Ask me how I know. All right. So I'm just gonna try to flatten this out a bit, because the temptation might be to just add it at this point, but you really don't want to do that. You want to take this clay and you want to roll it through the pasta machine a few turns and start to get it conditioned. It doesn't have to be completely conditioned, but it has to be at the point where it's just a little sticky. And you know what? The more I roll this clay like this, even just flattening it out, the stickier it gets. That has to do with just starting to mix those wet and dry ingredients in the clay. And as they completely mixed, then you get your clay that has a nice, soft, supple feel. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna roll this through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. And I'm going to reset the machine, skipping 2 settings, and roll it through. And sort of the harder this clay is, the thinner I will go. So it still feels very sort of rigid and cold. So I'm going to bump it up to, I'd say setting number 4 on my machine. Now my Atlas starts at 0. Let me roll it through. Okay, good deal. Now, out of kindness for my machine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, just going to cut this in half this way so that I will work half here and I will work half here. Okay. I'm going to roll this through my pasta machine again. Like so. And finish folding and rolling just a few times. It doesn't have to be completely conditioned. So this yellow clay is very cold. Perhaps I should have sat on it. Okay. Now I'm just going to take some of this. Take it and just spread it across one piece. And let's just roll this through the pasta machine and work it in. Okay, so I rolled it through a few times and you can see it is slowly getting worked into the clay. So I'm going to keep folding and rolling, and then I will be back when this is all conditioned and ready to go. Oh, I'm going to put more softener in this side as well, the same amount. Now here I added a little more of the softener than I should. And when that happens sometimes, you will notice that this happens. It didn't happen on this one, but it happened here. Now, at this point, I don't want you to freak out if it happens. You're gonna have some crumbles at the bottom. But what you're gonna do is just try to maintain this as a sheet and keep folding it and rolling it through the machine. You know what? It will work itself through. Don't roll this into a ball and start again. Really, you're halfway through the process here. Okay, I will. All right, so I have rolled it through maybe 5-6 times. And look, see, I told you, so don't freak out. Just maintain it as a sheet. It may be crumbly, it may feel like it's going to fall apart, but it won't. Just keep on gently folding and rolling it through. Now I have my 2 halves and I am going to roll them up together to a uniform color. This one you can see is quite a bit brighter than this one. What it means is this has more red. I haven't even worked all the red through, and this had less red, more yellow, less red. This color has more red in it. All right, so I will be back. All right, so I've rolled them together, mixed them to a uniform color. That's quite a bit brighter than I like, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little more red, not a lot, because the red is so strong. So let's give this a go, and I will be back when this is all done. But this is just too bright for me. Okay, I'll be back. So after adding the red, what happened was it turned very kind of ochre. So I added a bit more green, and that created the color that I much prefer. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, because the first thing we have to do is we have to make a striped slab. So I conditioned the white and I conditioned the black. Now the black was a bit stiffer than the white, so I added some blackout to it. Blackout, it not only makes the clay black, but it also softens the clay. So I added blackout, and now the two feel much more similar in terms of flexibility and suppleness. These have both been rolled through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. Just going to put one on top of another, like so. And today, let me try to stay under the lens. How about that? All right. And what I'm going to do is trim the four sides to make a neat rectangle. When you make this cane, you don't want to make it for life. You want to make enough for your use in your project, but not a lot more than that, because the way this is stored is flat. It's a kind of a slab, and what may well happen is that as it just sits around, of course it's going to get colder, and then it will crack, and then you will have to make it again. So this is one of those canes that you want to make only as much as you need. All right, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this edge on my roller, and I'm going to roll it through the same setting, the thickest setting of my pasta machine again. Just cleaning the bottom of my rollers. Okay, so here we go. All right, that looks good. Now let me trim away, and let's see what we have. That is the thickness. You can see if you look at the zipper cane, because this cane is pretty much made the size that you see here. So you can see if I want the zipper, the teeth of the zipper to be more fine, I'm going to have to roll it through the pasta machine again, which is what I'm going to do. Actually, the first thing you have to do is cut it in half and put one on top of another, and then roll it through the pasta machine. What can I say? It's a Sunday morning. Okay, so here we go. Let's trim the two ends like so, and you can see the difference. Bold teeth, finer teeth. Okay, so let's make a slab. Cut it in half, stack. Cut it in half. Stack again. And there are the zipper teeth. I'm going to cut this side, and this is my new scrap. I'll probably incorporate it into some new Starry Night canes. All right, so let's take this green, and as I said, I'm only going to make, my goal is to make as much as I need for this pendant that I'm going to be making. I don't want to make a huge sheet of it. I only want to make as much as I want to use. Okay, so let me just take this much. I'm going to put this and set this aside. Now I'm going to take my black clay and roll it through the thinnest setting of my pasta machine. Okay, so that's nice and thin. Let's take a look at how thin it is. Okay, so it's that thickness, and when you look at the relative thicknesses of these two things, you can see that this black is still rather thick. So I want it to be thinner. So I am going to take and fold the lime like so, and I'm going to put black on one side and the black on the other. Now, when I roll this through, it should be nice and thin. Okay. Okay, so first I want to lengthen it this way. And I'm going to do that by rolling it through the thickest setting of the pasta machine, putting this edge on the rollers. All right, so this is the width I want the cane to be, and it's going to be long enough for me to make this nice piece in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm going to set half aside, and I'm going to put the teeth of the zipper on this side. Okay, actually I think I'm going to make this thinner. So let me roll this through the third setting, or actually on my machine it's number 2. Repeat with the other piece. It's been a long time since I made this. Okay, I'm going to make it even thinner. Rolling it through number 4. Number 4. Let me take a look. What does this look like? Okay. And onto that I will put the teeth of the zipper. Okay, good deal. So I think I will stop. Make sure I roll this one through too. Now, I think it'll be easier if I construct this on a sheet of paper. my handy dandy trusty deli paper. Okay, so now I'm going to take this cane, and I'm going to take my my mark fit, and I'm going to take the 3mm side and press it onto the surface like that and transfer the marks. And now I will cut several pieces. Okay, so let me take each one of these and roll them through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. And the purpose of this is just to even them out. Now I didn't do a terrible job cutting, but they aren't absolutely even. That one was okay. There we go. And I think I'm going to make it thinner. I'm going to roll these through setting number 1. All right. So here we go. Now let me start putting these on. But what I really want to see is the relative thickness of this base sheet to the zipper. That's what it's going to look like. Now, if I wanted the tape, this is called the tape in a zipper, then of course at this point in time I would thin this out. Now I like it this way, so I'm going to leave it and I'm going to work on it. But let's say I wanted it thinner, then at this point I would thin these 2 sheets. I would construct on the thinner sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to start by putting these down, and I'm going to cut these in half because, as I said, I'm only making enough for this one piece. Now when you put them together, make sure that at the join right here, right there where they meet, that you get them as tight and as close as possible. Like so. You don't want any gap. And of course you have to maintain the alternating colors, black, white, black, white. It's a little hard to see when you're working as I am. Should really get a better look at it as you work. And sometimes you might even want to take your blade and push that edge and straighten it out a tad. Then you have a better chance of getting the edge of the new slice in a better position. All right, so let me continue and I will go down, and let's say I go maybe this far. I will cut. Yeah, I'll just make a mark there. Okay, so I'll be back when this is done. Okay, so this is done, so let's take a look at it here. And it looks good. It looks good. Now I'm going to take my little brass rod and roll lightly to even it out. All right, now let's take the other piece, put it on top. First, I'm going to trim this side of it. Okay. And I will make a clean cut so you can see what we have. And there's the zipper cane. I really like this cane a lot. I've used it so much. Now what are we going to do with this piece at the end? Well, could make a jelly roll. Could certainly do something with it rather than using it for scrap. You just never know when a little jelly roll might come in handy. Could happen. It's kind of interesting. I folded it. Doink, doink, doink. Okay. So enough of that. So I've got all these scraps. Okay, so now we're ready for this part of our pendant. Right there in the middle. But we're going to make these first. Set that aside. Take my scrap clay that I have rolled into a tight cylinder. Oops, picked up an O-ring. I mean a jump ring. So let me just cut off a piece. Now, I can't tell you how big this is going to be. I really can't. I may have to do it again because I don't know exactly how big these pieces are going to be. And here I am just trying to bring these cut ends to a point, and I find the easiest way is just to manipulate the clay like so and pull the clay from the sides up over the end like so, okay. Now I'm going to elongate it by drawing the tip out by rolling it at the base of my palm. Turn it over, do the same thing. Okay, and every now and then maybe put it on your work surface and maybe even roll that way. Now this is not going to be the finished size, of course, because we're putting clay on it. All right. Now what these are, this is not half of this. This is a quarter. You can see when I pull it up. It's actually 1/4 of this. So let us cut this in half. And I anchor my blade on one side, and then I use it like a paper cutter, you know, one of those paper cutters with the arm that comes down. And then I find that you can guide this end, you can guide it across the clay. Okay, so here are 2. Like so. I'm going to set one aside because I only need one. So let me bring this down like that. Now I have the 2/4. You can see they're a different shape. They're longer, they're thinner than this. If I wanted it bulkier and bigger, it's just a matter of rolling another tapering form like this, and that's not really a big deal. It's not too much to do. Okay, now I work on this raw. So the colors I'm going to use are the turquoise and the green, and the areas in here, right here, along the flat plane in the middle where the stripe is here, that's going to be violet. Gonna be violet. So first I'm going to put the green, this on. Okay, so I'm gonna cut approximately 2 millimeters, just like I did before with these canes. It's approximate, it doesn't have to be exact. Each of these I'm going to roll through setting number 6 on my pasta machine. There's one. There's 2. Now I am going to texture them, so never want to make my life harder than it has to be. I'm going to roll them again through setting number 6 against a texture sponge. Okay. So let me start by cutting a clean edge, because why not? And I'm going to start at one point. And you know, this would probably be a little simpler if my underlying form were a little chubbier and a little bigger, because this quarter form is so small, it doesn't have a lot of integrity. I mean, it's not holding its own against me. Okay, so you just have to use kind of a gentle touch. All right. So let me take and do the best I can. Just drape it around. Like so. Then turn it around and cut along that edge. And again, this really would have been easier if these underlying forms had been a little more substantial. But no, they're not. They're just these skinny little things. Actually, I made a mistake. All in the life of a studio session. I really only wanted to cover the outside, and what I did in my haste was cover this side as well. I didn't really want to do that. I wanted that blank. Not a big deal. I just have to fold it back and cut it again. Maybe it's easier actually putting it down. Okay. That's better. Now this is right. Okay, good deal. Okay. So now you can see the outside. What was the outer rounded part is covered with my green clay, but the two cut, the nice clean flat areas, are not. All right. Okay. Now I chose to have the grain going from tip to tip. Now, of course, you can go side to side. Okay, so let's do side to side. And I will just do part. I'm going to start right there in the middle. And then work my way from one tip to the other. And maybe this will be easier, actually. Like so. Take it around. you might want to try both ways. But this way is actually a bit easier, I think. So, take another piece. Like so. Trim the excess away from both sides. Finding I have to do both sides here. Let me just cover the tips. Maybe I have some scraps here. I can do that with. I have not made anything like this in a very long time. And as I said before, it was always one of my favorite things. I really liked these pieces a great deal. I think I'll start making them again. You know, everything we make we don't like. I've made some things that I look at now and I think, what was I thinking? Okay, so there are the two, and when I cut the zipper, it will go between them. Let me look, something like so. Something like that. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. All right, so let's cover these planes. So this one and this one. So if necessary, you do what I did. I saw some clay that was sticking out a bit too far. Let me see if I can see it on this side. Actually, I think this is the way this one goes. And that looks fine. All right. Now, if you look at these stripes and even this Skinner blend, you can see that there is a black line separating the clay on the curved part and then the clay that is covering that flat part inside. So I'm going to do that because I think it adds something. I like it. So I'm going to take a slice. I'm going to move this. It's too easy like to cut into things because you're not paying attention. Okay, so that looks to be about between 2 and 3 millimeters. And I'm going to take my black clay. I'm going to roll it through the thinnest setting of my pasta machine. My nose is so stuffed up. I am so sorry. I have allergies and the cold affects my nose, and if it's too hot, it's just like, it's a curse. It's really a curse. Okay, so this is going to get rolled through the pasta machine. And I don't know if it's going to be setting number 6, because 6 is pretty thin. Let me look at my sample. Maybe. Let's see when we get there. So I'm going to start at like 2, roll it through, go to 4, go to 5. Is that long enough? 5. Okay, let's see what it looks like at 5. I'm going to cut a little sample piece off the end. Oops. Okay. I like it. I'm stopping at 5. Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to texture it. There we go. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces, like so. And I'm going to work on paper. Black side up. I'm going to take the side that I'm going to cover. I'm going to put that right down on that black side. Like so. Is that right? Or do I want to cover this edge? I think I want to cover this edge. They're just slightly different. All right, I put that down. Then it's just a matter of taking my blade, cutting, let me see if I can get rid of some excess. And I think I'll refine everything with my my scalpel. Oops. I get so caught up, I forget where I am. Now, as I'm looking at it from the front, I can see I haven't done a very great job trimming right here. See how thick that line is? Okay, so let me see if I can do a better job. Oh, I think it's better. But let me just remove the paper from the clay and see. I think part of the problem was that this they weren't really together. They weren't joined together. And once I push a little bit more, the line has become a bit thinner. Okay, good deal. So that's what it looks like. All right, so let me finish the green one and I'll be back. Well, and now that these two pieces are done and ready to be used, they have to be cured in the oven. And then we will put the whole piece together. So I set my oven to 300 degrees. I'm going to cure these for 30 minutes. I'll be back. So these are cured. I have sanded the bottoms with my Abra net. So I just sand them flat because I would like them to sit as flat as they possibly can. All right. Now, the zipper cane is raw. I have put it on a ceramic tile. Now, I like curving the ends like so, rather than just having the top of the zipper cane go like this and then make a corner and cut straight down. I would rather have cut off that corner so you can see what it looks like on the side. And that's just simple enough. All you do is take a blade and you cut off the corner like so. Now the zipper cane is about the same thickness as the widest part of the spear. Okay. I don't make them any taller than that. And the basic, we're going to follow the original design. So basically it goes like this, something like this. And then I have a little bud right here. So I'm not sure, I know it needs something, I'm not sure exactly what. So I made the red ones, and then I made this. And why don't we just make one out of violet? I've rolled my scrap clay. It appears to be not quite half an inch in diameter. So I'm just going to cut a slice. And because I'm only making one ball, just going to take it, wrap it around like so. I'm not going to make a lot of them. Cut the excess away. Cut, and this I think is going to make a ball that's just a little larger than the ones I've made. See, the red one was this big, and this is the violet. Now, let's talk a little bit about these spear forms too. You know, if you knew you were going to make a lot of them, then a much more efficient way to work is to take half, cover the whole thing, do the trimming on the back, and then cut it in half. And that's actually in some ways easier. Now I work this way because I'm just making one piece. But if you knew you were going to make several, then it is a much more efficient way to cover a whole half and then cut the half in half. Okay, so I'm just drawing or pulling the stripes from the side up to cover the scrap clay contained inside. Like so. All right, let me roll this quickly. And I think I'm going to cut it in half this way, as I did with the red one. If I cut it the other way, if I cut from pole to pole, then of course I would have something like this, where the stripes are running from one end to the other. Okay, so now I have a few to choose from. Okay, so first of all, when you look at this, the original piece, you can see that this piece, the blue one, this blue one, is actually going up into the zipper cane. And then the other end of the zipper cane is attached to the flat side of this piece, like so. So let's do that first. Now I think that this is the way this will go, something like this. So the first thing I will do is cut where I would like the zipper cane to attach itself to the quarter round, the blue quarter round. Now I know that this is going to be going into the zipper cane at approximately that point, so I'll mark it. Cut straight down. All right, so I made a cut right in like that. Now I will cut more and remove some of that clay because the tip is going to be pushed right up into the raw clay. Before I do that, I am going to take a bit of liquid clay. If I can find a brush. Here we go. And of course I could use poly paste as well, but I'm just filling that space that I cut out. I think you can probably see the liquid is in there. Now let me put a bit of liquid along this cut edge, like so. Now I'm going to push that up inside, like so. Swing this over. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to take my blade, and you see the end of the zipper is a bit above the tapering form. So what I will do is just cut it off. Very good. Now this piece is just resting on the zipper cane. Once again, I'll apply some liquid clay to this area where I think I'm going to push this green one. All right, now let's put one of these balls on the zipper. Violet, the gold, or shall we use the red? And where should I put it? Up here? I'll tell you, if I put it up here, it's much more stable. It stabilizes this piece and makes it more secure. So I think I will push it up in there, and I think I will use the red. Either the red or the gold. I think I'll use the red. Now, that's where they're going to go, here and here. So I'm going to just take and remove just a touch from the side of the ball at those 2 points. Right where they're cut, I put just a little bit of liquid clay. Okay. And you know, that little ball made things much more secure. Now, do I want to add anything else? I want two. Do I want one up here? I want one on the end here. No, I think I'll stick with this for now. So this will go into the oven. You know what? I'm going to trim that a little bit because the zipper is above the tapering form at that point. So I'm just going to take a little bit off. All right, so that's very simple, but you know what? I like it. It doesn't have to be filled with stuff. And so we'll cure it. And as you know, if I decide that it's too plain, if I think of something else I want to do, I can of course do it later after this part is cured. But this is going in the oven now for another half hour. Now here's the piece. It's still a little warm, just a tad, but it's certainly cured. Now, if you look at this piece, you can see that potential problems are probably in this area where the three pieces are stuck together. If you turn it over, you can see that this piece is just basically shoved up against another, these two pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try carving out here and inserting a little piece of memory wire, right? So I'm just trying to make that area a little less fragile. Now, another thing I'm going to do is the back. When I put the backing clay on, I have a thing about the thickness of the backing clay. I like making it very thin. I don't like seeing this black line from the front or from the side. But you know what? In this case, I think that I really have to do it because this area is fragile and through here. And so I'm just going to have to, well, I'm just going to have to do it. I don't see that I have much choice, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes that does happen. Okay, so let's proceed. Put that aside. Now I'm going to use a U-gouge, and I took this, I put it on, and I sort of roughly traced the curvature of it. Okay, so let me try. And maybe I won't get it completely embedded in the clay. It may stick up just a tiny bit. I'll do the best I can. Now let's see what I've got going here. I think I'm going to shorten it. Maybe touch more there. Turn it and try to carve just a little bit deeper here. To be very careful, because if I lose control of the carving tool, I could cut myself. So, which I have done. I certainly have done that. Okay, so this is quite a bit too long. I'm going to cut some off with my wire cutters. Let's see if I can just drop that in there, just like so. And I think that this will help. I do believe it will help. So let me grab my glue. I'll just put some CA glue down in there. This tube of glue is very stretchy. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it sure is. Okay. So I've got it in there, but you know, I'm gonna take just, I had a tiny tile here, but it went away. So I'm just going to take a corner of a regular tile and push it against the wire, and hopefully it will sink it more in there, and it should be flatter. Okay, that's fine. Now the backing clay is black, and I've rolled it through setting number 3 on my pasta machine. So I'm going to texture it by rolling it with the texture sponge. Like so. Let me try it. My work surface is just full of stuff. All right, now I'm going to take my liquid clay and I'm going to smear it around here. And I want to take some extra liquid and I want to kind of fill this area. You know, I have the glue in there, but I know that there are spaces underneath the glue. So I just want to fill that up so there's no air around that wire. All right. Here, just press it all over, and now I'm going to start trimming the excess away. Let me just get rid of some of this. Make it just a bit easier, not having to deal with all that excess clay. Okay. I'm using my scalpel. And of course, I'm just running the cutting edge along right there next to the cured piece. So you see how thin that area is in the back. You can't really tell when you look from the front, but it is quite thin. So I've got so much liquid on here that the clay tends to want to slip. So when I'm cutting, I'm actually, here I'll show you, I put my finger behind it and I take the blade and my fingers holding the clay in place and not letting it move. Now, because I am careful and because really, if you're just cutting like this, it's kind of hard to cut yourself. Or I find it hard to cut myself. That I can keep my hand, my finger behind, and just, I can feel the tip of the blade against my skin. But it is preventing this clay from moving. And the problem is when the clay moves away from the edge. When it moves away from the edge, then of course what happens is the clay, the backing clay, is actually physically too small. Okay. Now a situation like this, I will take my finger and put it right there at the end, insert the blade, and carefully cut to my finger. In all the time I've worked with polymer clay, I have never cut myself on this. I have never cut myself on this. I have cut myself only, and it was a really bad cut, on a single-edged razor blade. That is the only time I ever cut myself badly. And I'll tell you why. Because that single-edged razor blade was sitting on my work table, and I rolled a cylinder, and as I was rolling, the clay picked up the blade. It was horrible. And that is why, to this day, the only kind of cutting tool that I do not use is a single-edged razor blade. Because that was really horrible. That was horrible. All right, so you can see. And you can see by putting my fingers behind, if you look, you can't see any of the back of the piece. The black clay is covering it nicely, okay? So don't be afraid. I'm cutting so slowly, and I'm totally in control of my tool. Okay, so I think that looks really good. It's very neat and very tidy. Now I'm going to make this a pendant, so I will actually be figuring out exactly how later. It could also have been a pin, but I didn't put the pin back on. What I am going to do is put my signature on, though. And I think I'll put it right here. A little more stability. This is a studio session, so I didn't exactly know where I was going. I had an idea, but to tell you the truth, I'm still not sure where I'm going. Okay, so this is going to go back in the oven, and then I will be back. All right, I'm back. The piece is cured. I added another 10 minutes to the curing time because it's the last time I'm going to cure the piece. I wasn't really sure at that time, but then I thought about it. Thought about the way I'm going to attach a pendant finding, and so I decided I would just do a 40-minute curing, so it will not be cured again. Okay, now if we look at the actual piece, the original piece, you can see that the way this works is that I did put a tie tack finding, and then I made a pendant. And once you put the tie tack finding in this piece of clay, the pendant, it turns it into a pendant, like so. So it hangs roughly like that. Well, since I forgot, I have to figure out another solution. And this is a solution that I use quite a bit when I'm making pendants. And it's very simple. So what I would like is for the piece to hang like this on a wire. So what I will do is in the back, I'm going to drill a hole approximately here in the back and one here in the zipper. And then I'm going to glue Bunicord into the two holes, and that will create a loop into which I can thread this, or, well, it's quite a versatile way of making a hanger, because you can get a lot of clasps through it because it's slightly stretchy. It's not really fine. Okay, so let me turn it around and kind of roughly there. So I think it will be about there. The only thing I have to make sure of is that I don't drill into the wire in this part, because remember, the wire is actually arcing that way. And then I will drop straight down into the zipper. So these are the two holes. I will drill here, I will drill there. First, I'll start with a very fine drill. A little pilot hole. The one thing I could feel was that this was actually kind of twisting as I got deeper. It felt like it was twisting, so it wasn't really secure. This bit is not really secure in there. So let's move to a slightly larger bit, and this is something I made. It's just a drill bit that I bought at Harbor Freight, and I just sunk it into a little wad of clay. And here we go. Drill some more. And it's not a very good bit. It's kind of dull. I really don't know what makes a good bit, but I suspect this isn't a very good bit. It was very cheap. Came in a packet with a lot of other bits. Okay, so let's move on to this bit, which I believe is 2 millimeters. And it's doing the same thing, kind of stopping, so I have to actually twist the bit like this. First of all, I don't know why they designed bits. Well, I'm not going to open it right now. But the base of the bit is perfectly round, so of course it's not going to grab in the pin vise. If it was square or if it was a different shape, then you could put it in and it wouldn't move. But it's round. And I can't seem to tighten it enough, tighten this enough to make it so that it doesn't move. It would be simple if they just made the base of the bit square or triangular or just a different shape so it couldn't move. Okay. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. You know, I live in the mountains and it's very quiet, but we seem to be quite a noisy household. Vernon's laundry is drying, and it of course decided to start up. Okay, let me see if this will fit inside, or maybe, yep, it fits. Okay, and here we go. Actually, I am going to look for another drill bit. This seems not to be exactly 2 millimeters. And you know, I have so many of these sitting around. Look at, see? Doink, doink. I have more. So let me find the one that I believe. Okay, here's one. See? Look at all these. Look at, and this isn't even all of them. Okay? All right, so let me give this a go. This looks like it might actually be the one. That's better. Terrific. Now this will go in. It's about the same. Doink, doink, and the span is about like that. Give it just a little extra. All right, so let's glue it in the hole. This glue, look at that. Woo! I mean, this is supposed to be gel. And it seems to be jelly. But it grabbed. Okay, now. Now, that seems to be rather a big loop. It doesn't have to be this large. And if I leave it this large, that means it's going to sit this far away from my skin. So I'm going to trim a little bit. Try again. That's better, but I think I can still make it shorter. And you know what? I think that'll be fine. It's maybe a little larger than I normally. Well, you know what? Cutting a little more. And I have to find all these little pieces. They've been flying around because that's just the sort of thing that's going to end up in my clay. All right. I think that's better. Okay, let me take this jelly, sticky jelly glue, put it in the hole. And this is a brand new tube. I just opened it. Right. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit for a moment. Yeah, I have quite a few hand drills. Pretty funny, huh? Oink. Just about every size imaginable. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and you know what? The glue is dry or cured, and I threaded it onto this wire choker. When I hold it up, I can't really hold it up so you can see, but it hangs really nicely. It hangs the way I wanted it to. It doesn't hang like that or like that. It hangs pretty much straight down as you see it here. Okay, now let's talk for a moment about memory wire, because I'm sure you guys know what memory wire is. This is probably the one you're most familiar with. I did reshape it. Ordinarily, memory wire comes in a much tighter coil, but it can be reshaped just with your hands, just by taking and opening up the curve. Now, this is the second kind. I bought this from, I think, Pendant maybe, and as you can see, it's quite a bit thicker than this dull gray memory wire. This is the one I used for this particular pin, but there will be instances where I will be forced to use this because, let's say, the piece is much smaller or the place that I'm trying to reinforce is much thinner. Anyway, so either one of these will work, and I use them both. Okay, I think you can also probably use this. Remember this? We reshaped our earring to turn it into a pin back, a wire pin back. So I think this could also be used. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. I really love these Starry Night things. I really like the way this looks in this particular piece too. You guys know, if you've been following me at all, I've been making everything from flat pieces like this and feathers and all kinds of things using these canes. But I think this is a really nice application for them as well. And today it was an opportunity for me to show you how to do a zipper cane, which is, I think, a very useful cane to have and to know how to make. So if you've learned anything, if you've enjoyed your time with me, then please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato. Thank you and bye.